Question: how do you adapt a non-fighting game character into a fighting game? It would be simple just to drop someone into a game and have them start punching and kicking and throwing fireballs. But what really makes that oddball guest character special is when they bring a bit of their source material with them, adapting elements of their game through fighting game mechanics in a way that's both familiar and novel. And no guest character makes a stronger case than Phoenix Wright in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And while Phoenix does feature some really cool animation Easter eggs, this video will be more closely examining his gameplay and how it translates the feeling of an Ace Attorney game into the madness of Marvel 3. Think of it less of an animation excellence and more of an adaptation excellence. For those not in the know, Phoenix Wright is the protagonist of the Ace Attorney series by Capcom. As the title suggests, Phoenix is an attorney tasked with defending clients from being wrongfully convicted in some truly absurd cases. While it would be easy to think of Ace Attorney as a mystery game or detective game or a visual novel, it's really more a puzzle game dressed up as a courtroom drama, as you scour crime scenes for evidence, cross-examine witnesses to find contradictions in their testimonies, and ultimately piece together the evidence to prove your client's innocence and pin the crime on the true culprit. That all sounds well and good, but at the end of the day, it's still a game about lawyers. What is the appeal of Phoenix Wright, and why would people want him in a fighting game? For one, the Ace Attorney games are full of zany characters and offbeat, quirky humor that gives the game a unique, upbeat energy that's almost unusual for a lawyer puzzle game. This energy carries through in every aspect of the story, pushing every emotional extreme at one point or another. The comedic becomes the absurd, the dramatic becomes the melodramatic, and the tension becomes hypertension. You can feel this escalation at its most potent during courtroom showdowns between Phoenix and the prosecution, where everyone is slamming desks and yelling accusations back and forth. In fact, the pace of any given trial follows a specific dramatic pattern. Phoenix begins every case on the back foot, with so much circumstantial evidence piled against the defendant that a guilty verdict is basically inevitable. Phoenix finds one small lead, and he pursues it with everything he's got to stay in the game. Suddenly, his small lead becomes many leads, and as it sounds like he's about to blow the case wide open, the prosecution starts their counterattack. Perhaps they were withholding critical information, perhaps they've intimidated their witnesses into silence. But once they've pulled the rug out from underneath, Phoenix has to scramble to keep his case together and find a new angle. This creates a back-and-forth escalation of moves and countermoves, accusations and arguments. As Phoenix breaks apart witnesses' contradictions and pushes objections with hard evidence, the prosecution fights back with as many dirty tricks as they have up their sleeve, and the culprit does everything in their power to deflect the truth. Until finally, Phoenix finds his opening, presents a critical piece of evidence, and nails the culprit with one final, undeniable objection. This pattern of rising tension and back-and-forth counterplay almost mirrors a shonen battle, and it's easy to imagine Phoenix bringing that same kind of energy to a fighting game. While it's undeniable that Phoenix Wright has a unique fighting spirit that only a lawyer can bring, logistically he's still just a lawyer, and we still have to put him in a fighting game. So how do we get Phoenix Wright to object Magneto to death? First, let's examine Phoenix Wright's unique gameplay mechanics as they are meant to be played. As one might predict, Phoenix Wright's fighting ability is not great. His animations utilize a visual gimmick that I am always a fan of: attacks that aren't attacks. His normals are basically harmless gestures like presenting papers or sweeping the floor for clues. And the game doesn't even pretend how ineffective these attacks are. Phoenix might have the shortest reaching attacks in the whole game, shorter than 2 actual midgets and a raccoon. His main gimmicks are centered on 2 mechanics: his court record and his modes. Phoenix begins the fight in investigation mode, where Phoenix must search for evidence to present to the court. There are a total of 13 pieces of evidence Phoenix can pick up. Only 6 of them are case relevant, and Phoenix can only hold 3 at once. If he gets bad evidence, he can toss it as an ineffectual projectile. His offensive presence is basically non-existent. His goal is to stay on the defensive and gather evidence. Once he's ready to present to the court, Phoenix can switch to trial mode to go on the attack. He can throw paper or press for testimony, and he can present evidence to fire off a variety of projectile attacks and finally get some ground in the fight. If Phoenix has a full set of critical evidence, he can finally launch an objection, which will immediately switch him into turnabout mode. In turnabout mode, Phoenix's attacks become absurdly strong, capable of stopping foes in their tracks with a single point of his finger. His evidence becomes far more potent, and even his paper attacks gain new properties, making Phoenix literally unstoppable as he presses his foes' testimonies. Finally, in this mode, he gains access to the most powerful move in the game, Ace Attorney, where he takes his foe to the podium, lays out the evidence, and hands down their final conviction. Phoenix Wright maintains a unique spot on Marvel 3's roster as both the weakest and strongest character in the game simultaneously. Having to dig up evidence quickly and efficiently while chaos rages around you is basically playing a separate game within itself. But all of this is part of Phoenix's intended game flow. With 0 evidence, you always begin the fight on the back foot, desperately searching for even one piece of evidence to give yourself some ground. And as you're scrambling through your case file, your opposition is oppressing you with all sorts of madness, forcing you to fiddle with your evidence desperately just to stay in the game. But once you find your winning pieces, a single objection is all it takes to turn the game around. Suddenly, Phoenix is an unstoppable force. His evidence becomes undeniable and his offense becomes overwhelming. Every point of the finger and every cry of objection forces the enemy back into a corner, and once Phoenix lays out the truth, there is only one possible verdict remaining. Am I describing a chapter of Ace Attorney, or am I describing a round of Marvel 3? I'm actually describing both at once. Players who have mastered Phoenix Wright's intricacies, like I Heart Justice, turn this play pattern into an art form, seamlessly going from 0 to objection in a matter of seconds, unleashing the power of the Ace Attorney and decimating entire teams. Phoenix Wright's moveset in Marvel 3 is brilliant, not just for emulating elements of Ace Attorney gameplay and not just for pulling key poses straight from the game, but because it somehow captures the energy and feel of an Ace Attorney game in real time by doing what fighting games do best, putting you in the fray and letting your actions tell the story. Whether you're in the courtroom or on the SHIELD helicarrier, whether you're dealing with projectile toupees or hidden missiles, the Ace Attorney experience is all about that rise from harmless lawyer to unstoppable god of truth.
Objection! According to this data, I have evidence. Wait, hold it!
That's all for today's a.b.i.torial. Be sure to leave a like and make your case before the court in the comments. I am legally bound to issue a reminder to subscribe and slam the notification bell for more anime and game content from Trigger Punch. We have a Patreon with early access to all of our future videos, so be sure to check it out if you'd like to support the channel. I'm a.b.i., and court is adjourned.